Tonight we're going to try to put into a wider perspective this entire matter of past lives and the implications of past lives. Now, you have, of course, all of you, or certainly most of you, heard time and time again the beginning of this story, but put everything in context, we have to begin with the fact that the past lives are not past lives, and that they are simultaneous lives. And it is important to be aware of that you may enter history at any point needful to the stage of development that you are involved in. And so in this reality, trapped in time, measured by time, that it seems as though the past is there and the future is here and you're somewhere in the middle. And the fact is that past, future, and present are all one. There is only the eternal moment outside of time. And so it is a part of the illusion you are living in. But to understand past lives, and we'll continue to refer to them as past lives simply because it's convenient, when you consider this matter, you must be aware that your own awareness is one window in a skyscraper filled with windows. That this moment, this incarnation, is one fraction of your total awareness. Now, there are many, many levels of awareness in the universe, in existence. Many levels of awareness because we're dealing with eternity. We're dealing with a growing that never ceases. It is not, however, the repetition of a process. Where there is no end, one assumes there is also no beginning. Yet the process is not circular. It is eternal, and it's very difficult to imagine eternity caught as you are in time. In my house are many mansions. This phrase has many meanings. One of the meanings is the many realities, the many levels of existence. Now, the analogy in your earth world can be found in the physical aspect of being. You look around you on this planet, and you see a world composed of men and of women and dogs and horses and cats and elephants and lions and so forth and so on. And yet that is only one aspect, one level of the levels of life that exist only in this physical aspect of this planet. You find then the insect life. Well, now the lives are interrelated. And yet they are separate. But look more closely and take out a magnifying glass and see the teeming life that lives within and upon those other life forms. Look at the earth and see the life that lives that is unnoticed by your eye, and by whom you are unnoticed. Get a microscope and look even more in detail, and you will find yet another level of life, apparently independent of the levels above. Now, as far as you can go, and even the electronic microscopes of today have only penetrated a part of the reality. So in this physical plane alone, you have interrelated yet separate planes of existence. Now magnify that 1,000,000 or trillion or so, and you will find the levels of existence in the physical universe. The physical universe. The stars and the planets and the galaxies. And you will find more and more life. Reverse that microscope in this physical reality. And you will find that the life that you live is to the life of immeasurably greater size as you are to those submicroscopic forms that live, let's say, in your between your teeth or in your hair or everywhere. You think of this solid flesh and these solid chairs and so forth, and it appears that this is solidity, reality. And yet, when you were you to pursue either your hand or the chair that you sit on, in the great deal detail offered by the electronic microscope, you would find there's more space than matter. Life piled upon life, piled upon life. Dealing again only with the physical, time-bound universe that is itself a drop in the ocean of life. So beyond this very narrow band of energy that you can perceive in human form, imagine all of the other bands as perception widens. And you see that this three-dimensional existence is multidimensional. And that in this just around you, yet not touching you, yet sharing the space, but a vibration away, is reality after reality after reality after reality. That which you think of as the past is but a vibration away living at this moment. Your lives, your many lives, are all alive now. Every life that you have lived and shared in is a part, a vibration away of this universe that you inhabit. In your meditation, in the gradual strengthening of the powers of the Spirit that you are experiencing now, you may glimpse into those other realities. Many of you have. It is like there is no true barrier. It is like matter, more space than substance. So just a widening of your awareness brings closer to you lives that have apparently come and gone. The perception that you have, this, and we don't mean to be insulting, but this very tiny fraction of perception, when you consider the vastness of the whole that is perceivable, is an extension of your wider self. Your wider self your complete self, is itself a part of all. Awareness leads to God. This spark of awareness here is a part of a greater fire of awareness that is a part still of a yet greater awareness. And finally, step by step, as your awareness grows, as you walk the endless ladder of existence, you come into oneness with God, and God himself, itself, is yet growing, yet changing, yet refining, yet increasing. For that is the law. Grow. In this particle of time that you are caught in, you struggle with great issues that lead finally to your ability to consolidate all of the awarenesses that have been a part of your earth experience, all of the lives. Finally, that's the goal. Finally, you have explored every avenue. You have looked from every perspective. You have taken upon yourself all of the illusion of fear, explored it in a quest for the light, found the light, and ended the shadow. In earth terms, many thousands of years of thousands of lives. You have explored, you have found. This life now you're leading is an important one. But we must emphasize to allow you to grasp to some degree the enormity of life, that this is but a twinkling of an eye. Now, we've spoken many times to many of you personally and in groups. We've spoken of specific past lives that whose influence is felt in this current life. We have pointed out that there is a constant flow of cause and effect between these lives that, as we've shown, are only a vibration away. That what is done in this life has a contemporaneous effect upon the other lives that are sharing in this issue, in the issues plural. Therefore, what you learn in this life, the illumination you receive, brightens the light and brings balance to other lives that you had thought were frozen in aspic, completed and therefore unchangeable. Karma itself, as you come to heal it and bring it into balance, is malleable and changeable. It grows and it shrinks. It is itself illusion. It's the personification of the fear illusion that causes imbalance, the duality. Ultimately, it disappears because you have become aware of its true nature. And you have healed the duality. When you heal the duality within yourself, the separation between ego self and higher self, when that duality is gone, and it is for this life, for that to happen, then there is a monumental expansion of your awareness. This expansion of awareness, this Christ consciousness that signals the completion of the triune formation, where Father, Son, and Spirit join with the human body, mind, and spirit, and a completion is found. There your awareness opens like the lens of a camera, and you come into conscious awareness of the lives that have fed into this one. Now, that does not mean you're overwhelmed by the confusion of awareness of many lives. It means that you can call forth those memories yourself upon need. The process of healing and bringing into complete wholeness your being in this life is a lifelong task. It is a watershed that you are at now, when you cease adding to your troubles and begin truly your healing. But the process continues throughout the life. The many lives that you have led are not, in fact, so much like that tree of which we have spoken before, the tree of many branches, each with blossoms representing areas of concern and lives focused around a specific issue, as is a interlocking forest of those trees. Remember that the bottom line is that you are one. You are all one. That finally there is no separation. Remember that this spark of life that you have projected into this world at this time with this identity is connected to the wider self, along with all of those other extensions of life force. And so when they are withdrawn through apparent death, they are withdrawn into the wholeness. That wholeness itself is a part of a wider wholeness that contains all of the many selves of all of the people. And so on, wider and wider and wider to God. The lives that we generally draw upon when asked to illumine a contemporary issue with a past life example, when asked to show the connection between one of you and some other individual, are by and large proximate lives, adjacent lives, lives that are deeply, intimately, closely entwined with this one. But remember, you are not alone. And in dealing with the issues of your life, not only are they triggered by your friends and by your loved ones, but they are healed by the interaction with your friends and your loved ones. Those individuals, too, are dealing with interrelated issues. That's why you're together. That's why you have agreed to share in this life. Now, you have an agreement of that nature with your father and with your mother, with your brothers, with your sisters, with your lovers, with your, quote, enemies, with your closest friends, with your children. All interlocking agreements, all interrelated realities. What of their past lives? Many you know you have shared in, but many more you have not. And so when we draw for you from your own immediate past lives, we are also drawing from that interconnected network of past lives that involve the people that are entwined with you. Like finding a single thread in a tapestry. The tapestry is made up of single threads, but they are related in such a way that they complement each other and seen all together make a picture, tell a story, create a reality composed of the many thread realities. That is the kind of interrelationship that we are attempting to clarify for you in terms of past lives. When you ask me for a past life example, usually I simply consult the Akashic records and what is the most appropriate and the closest to the issue involved. The 2 or 3 or however many are closely involved with the specifics, swim into view, and we deal with that. Other lives, we have reached into a wider background, a life that is connected with this one by one thread that reaches from here to there, where that thread happens to be an important one for you to hear about now. And yet the life in other respects may have very little to do in terms of its issues and its continuity with this one. It may be drawn from the dim and remote past. It may be drawn from contemporary times. Contemporary times. In this multi-layered cake of reality, you may be living now as your present identity, and yet we will draw for you a life that was lived before, after this one had begun, and you think, well, now how could that be? It is that interrelationship, the many layers of reality, because each of your friends, and each of your enemies, and each of your parents, and your brothers, and your sisters, and your children, and your uncles, and your aunts, and all of the people that matter to you, also have a complete set of past lives, both near and distant, that are not separated from yours, but are intricately entwined, yet separate, complete. So, further, we have indicated to a number of you in the past that the phenomenon of having any number of people report that they lived a life as Napoleon Bonaparte is easily explained. There are lives that so clearly define and illuminate a particular issue that is a common denominator to all of humankind, that many share that consciousness. Now, that doesn't mean that Napoleon Bonaparte had 1,000 personalities, all of them warring with each other. He was as unique and as fully aware of his consciousness as you are in this life. But because there are so many possible paths, because there are so many interlinking lives, there are a virtual infinity of lives to choose from, of Napoleons to choose from. And so while most of your lives that are drawn from and you hear of past lives are immediate, deeply, closely connected to this life, there's a wider stratum of lives that we can draw from that are connected only by one aspect to this life. Another strata of lives that we can draw from that are lives in common, shared by many. And then as we go wider and wider, we see in every one of those interlinking lives of all of your friends and relatives and all of their friends and relatives and all of their friends and relatives' friends and relatives, all of this interlinking, we begin to glimpse that infinitely complex network of energy that is humanity as one. One. where ultimately all lives are shared. Ultimately, all memories are one. The lives we illumine for you are not your lives alone, but shared by the universal consciousness. That is God, and that is you. You choose your lives for many reasons, because of the level of activity and education that you're on. Because you may need, for example, one who has experienced life as a very macho male, let us say, who has been buried within his own consciousness and his own ego, and has caused difficulty and pain and sorrow, and has not understood the oneness. Goes from that life into a life in which he is intimately involved with Jane Fonda. There are as many lives as there are issues, as many perspectives as you need to see the truth. You have all of the time in the world, because only the world has time. Each moment of life, each spark of consciousness, each extension from that whole self is of monumental, overwhelming importance to the growth of all. And yet, in another sense, it's of no importance at all, because this is a game you cannot lose. This is a process inevitable in the goal that it seeks and will find, because it is reality dealing with illusion, and there can be but one victor. Look upon this life and your many lives as the adventures that they are. Gain that bit of perspective from your widened awareness, that however serious, however tragic, however painful certain experiences in each life may be, that there is a great nobility in this gallant search for light, this brave exploration of the unknown, of helplessness, of darkness, of fear. Do not indulge in self-recriminations at what you see as missed opportunities and failed efforts. They are not. They are not. They are opportunities to learn. They are underlinings of the text. Bring the joy that is the reality of the love that energizes all of life into this life. At its darkest, it is a magnificent play. It is a constant reaching for the God in yourself. But you know that the God has always been there, that the perfection you seek is already intact, that the game that you play is removing disguises. An age is dawning, as an age dies. It is an uncertain time, a time where you need faith, because it is the only certainty. And yet, with all of the difficulties of transition, all of the confusion, all of the pain and ecstasy of the polarization of humanity that is taking place, with all of that, you are entering into a new world as a pioneer, as a healer, as a guide, in a glorious task that marks your graduation into a whole new perception. A time of triumph of the Spirit. And in these years to come, as 1986 begins, there will be many, many challenges as the reality structure of the world crumbles and as the new is built. Put your focus upon what is growing out of the rubble. See the light that is chasing the darkness. And have fun with your purpose. You know, it's so tempting to take the purpose and put a halo around it and set it off somewhere in the stratosphere and say, my purpose. But your purpose is to bring joy to yourself and to others. To see the laughter that lurks behind the tears. And that is the reality. There are no tears in the wider reality, in your full consciousness. No regrets. No anger. There is joy. There is laughter. The laughter and joy of beings that have graduated through this valley of the shadow, through this veil of tears. And you are about to become among those graduates. The lives that you lead henceforth will not be caught in the duality. They will be lives that reach outward and within, exploring the many levels of the wider reality. An expansion time. We will speak much more next week about the developing patterns on the Earth stage for this coming year and beyond. But recognize that you will be facing challenges, but recognize first and foremost that what you are going through now is preparing you to meet those challenges. So you do not need to fear them. When you find the challenges that lie in your own path, and it doesn't mean everybody's going to drop everything and become a sort of wandering guru. In your work, in your life, in your expanded consciousness, wherever you touch, whoever you touch, you will be involved in fulfilling your purpose. And whatever the detail and whatever the permutation of your purpose, it is always to bring joy, to bring love, to bring healing. And so that begins. Now we will pause and we will come back for questions after. Now, are there any questions relating to the matter of past life?
Yes, I have one. How can we best achieve working with and interacting with and correcting or balancing out our different aspects and different, well, all the different aspects that we are experiencing at this time in different...
The different lives that are interrelated? Yes. In terms of your conscious involvement in a wider circle of lives, that is really not for this time yet. That as you awaken into your wholeness, then there will be more overt adjustment and balancing to be called for. Really, what is needed here is the simple willingness, because the process that is going on within you, the process that is gradually preparing the ground for your emergent humanity and wholeness, is taking care of this matter. You are changing now as a result of the Mary energy and of the new influx of energy that began the night after our previous meeting here. That increased flow of energy is creating great change at a very fundamental level within you, and it's physical change as well as spiritual change. There's an alteration of being that is strengthening you so that you may be prepared for the Christ energy. So as that process goes on, really all you need to do is try to get out of the way of it, and not drag your feet, and not berate yourself for for imagined failures, but rather to simply affirm that you are willingly on this path, however mysterious it may seem to you. And the fact that you cannot see the result, that you cannot see the last line of the last chapter, is a part of the faith that is the requirement for this journey. So as to your involvement with other lives and creating the balance among those lives, that's exactly what you are doing now. And your willingness now, expressed as it has been, is opening opportunity in the lives that are directly connected with this. So you lighten your load of inherited karma by your willingness to assume the path and to become the embodiment of your purpose. And so that's the stream of cause and effect. And so the cause here, the acquiescence, the willingness, the growing, the releasing of the fears has its effect in the lives that fed those fears into this life, of alleviating conditions, thereby lightening your own load of karma because you've released. Yes.
I have a question. I have had a love named Peter who I'm interested in past life experiences that are important, and also if our energies will get together in this life again.
Peter.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing a past life effect in relationship with this individual as having had a limiting effect. That there was a great deal of intimacy, but that it was a closed system, that you lost yourself in each other. That you closed off opportunities of opening your understanding, because you were like two who were crippled and blinded and deafened, who came together and held each other up and acted as eyes and ears for each other, but who were not complete and did not allow completion in the formula of the relationship. You loved each other very much, but it was a love, the illusion of love, born of fear. The fear of dealing with your issues yourself. Now, when you are drawn into that kind of relationship, the task that is at the core of that relationship is to release the dependency. And that doesn't mean not feeling the dependency, but willingly allowing it to pass away, to each to free the other, and by doing so, freeing the self. Only then can a relationship grow that is equal, that is composed of two free beings choosing to be together. We see a likelihood of that opportunity arising for you. And but it will arise as a result of the continuing process in your own life of releasing dependency. And likewise for the other. Yes.
Plautus, can you give any information as far as the effect of an individual to take his own life, to attempt at least to terminate consciousness on the larger self and that consciousness?
The effect of suicide or attempted suicide
yes.
upon the spiritual aspect of being. It is not as simple. It's not a black and white issue. The attempt is frequent and is without penalty, in a sense. It is within the rights of the individual to choose to terminate the life. You have free will, and free will cannot be violated. Now, what occurs is partially dependent upon the stage of life that you are in. One who takes his own life, lost in despair, is creating karma in the reverberations upon others by that act, as well as by closing off an opportunity. There is a penalty in the sense that the issues must be dealt with. There is no penalty because there is eternity in which to deal with them, as much time as you need. And there is not a one of you who has not at some point in some life chosen to shortcut, chosen to exit early. It is almost a temptation that cannot be denied, that must be explored. But it does not happen in a vacuum because you are not an island. And so the effects of that termination reverberate with your friends and with your loved ones, those that are involved with your path, and creates and triggers issues for them. Therefore, any continuation of the issues are going to involve those same spirits in their relationship to you. It'll be a new perspective, a new set of conditions. We think ultimately one with a widened and heightened sensibility and awareness must simply be aware that there is nothing to be gained. That in each life, the deck is not stacked. That while a life may seem unredeemably disastrous, you may create that reality and accept that as being the reality, But when you have begun the incarnation, you have created in yourself weakness, yes, apparent weakness, but also the strength with which to compensate for that apparent weakness. And so by acts of faith, it is always possible for you to create a life in which there is a solution. Now, these lives are continuing. This life is really quite exceptional. This life, for those who have come to be a part of the evolution, is quite exceptional in that it does have a conclusion. Most lives are continuations. And so a fabric that is being woven in one life is continued in another and completed in yet another. So there is no benefit to be gained by checking out. And so it is simply a matter of common sense that has been widened in awareness, that there is that is not a solution, that it is in the extremity of your despair that you are closest to God and closest to awakening, that it is always darkest before the dawn, and that those who become lost in that despair and cannot imagine the dawn and take their lives, there is an issue, because each time you make that choice, you are complicating and deepening the issue. It becomes that much more difficult the next time.
Plautus, I'm going to be running into this woman in about another 2 or 3 weeks. I'll quickly describe her. She was born about 1948. She's slender. She plays a flute in church. Has a degree as a psychologist or psychiatrist. She's going to be coming into my life, and I would like to know past life connections or an possible time of birth, month.
We see the sun could indicate a fire sign, possibly Leo. And this is one who was a teacher to you, and whose teaching you resented. You know, you've had this issue for a long time of resenting your teachers. And we would say that this is the barrier that you erect. There is insight to be found here, but it is dependent upon your entering into the contact without your defenses up. And there is the potential for much light in this, much enlightenment. But she's going to see right through you. And that was the difficulty before, that you couldn't get away with anything. She was a very good teacher, very demanding, and very far-seeing. Now you bring to this relationship a spark of life and of drama, emotion, that will be an activator for her. So there's a fair exchange, but we think you're likely to raise each other's hackles first. Yes.
Plautus, I am wondering about this high energy anomaly that is supposedly located in the Theo Worth Park area that Reverend Jim Fisher was talking about, that some high energy physicists were noting on their instruments at point in the Minneapolis area in Theo Worth Park. and it's some kind of energetic anomaly, and it's real close to my house, and I'm kind of wondering what, if you could comment.
Well, in the network of intersecting energies that is the nervous system, the central nervous system of the Earth, that girdles the globe, that covers the skin of the Earth, there are points of intersection that do generate what you might think of as a flare of energy. Now, in a wider sense, this area is at a confluence of energies that, taken together, act as a key to a lock and release additional energy that is beneficial for the kind of transformation that we are dealing with here. So we're talking about an energy that has a powerful spiritual effect that is a fundamental part of the nature of this local energy, as well as other energies in this continent, in various locations in the southwest and the northwest, and here. So your own closeness to that flare does have an effect. It is a real energy, and it is taken in by your system. It is a beneficial energy. We wouldn't recommend living in the middle of it. It's the sort of thing that's good for plant life, but is overstimulating for a human being. You may find in its vicinity a certain heightened, it's a heightened awareness, but it can come off as nervousness or anxiety because it's something that is, as you say, anomalous and not part of the basic system. So in its vicinity, that can be an effect that could be felt negatively.
Is it significant that I was almost drawn to this home, choosing this house? I knew that we were going to get a house in this area, and, well, the circumstances leading up to getting this house were kind of odd and anomalous in themselves. I mean,
no, it's not accidental, and it does have something to do with that energy flare. There was a difficulty for you in opening your network of doubt, suspicion, and skepticism that this has helped to traverse.
Thank you.
Plautus, if along your path in life you feel like you've missed a big opportunity where you could have taken your life a different direction, passed it up in a sense, is there, I was just thinking about this the other day, is there a part of you that does go ahead and live that possibility?
You mean when you reach a crossroads,
right.
Do you take both avenues and this awareness is aware of that
right.
change and then your awareness splits off? Not usually, no.
No.
There are particular circumstances in which that can take place in a different sense, but no. But what does happen is if you have that sense that somewhere along the line, and you think you know where, you missed the boat, then if that is a true intuitional awareness, as opposed to a regret attached to a fear system dealing with what you have to face now, having not made that choice. But if it is an awareness that you let something go by, and of course you have the right to do that, and very often opportunity will pass you by, and you haven't had any idea that it was a real choice until long afterward. If it was for you, circumstances will recreate themselves so that the nexus of that opportunity, the kernel of it won't come to you as the same thing, but it will come to you as solving the same issue, being an opportunity of the same kind. In your willingness to find your purpose, If that was truly a missed opportunity, then it is a part of your purpose and it will come to you in a new form, but fulfilling that old itch. Very often, however, those vain regrets have much more to do with the fear of the path that you did choose, and the thinking that the grass looks greener on the other side of the hill.
So if my intuitive feeling about my missed opportunity would be to hook up with a group of people, along the way later, would it be the same group of people or something that would just have the same effect?
Occasionally it would be the same, but not likely. Usually it is the same opportunity, but different circumstances.
Thank you.
Plautus, what is the past life connection between my husband and me?
We see a heavy hand of one who has been rigidly adhering to his interpretation of societal demands, one who is afraid of taking chances, of trying the untried road, whose responses are conventional to the point of being psychotic, where choices are extremely limited due to fear, where rigidity, unchangingness are basic characteristics. You were caught in such a trap with one whose life was governed by fear and did not trust what he could not control. There was rigid control exercised, control that was created through undermining the confidence of the other person involved, where you were sold a bill of goods regarding your own worth, regarding helplessness and uselessness, and where he had you convinced that without him you would die, and without adhering to his wisdom you would fail. Understand that this was not malefic in intent. It was the hunger of one who could not allow himself love. It was the unrestrained need of one who did not see himself as worthy of love. Your own darkness in that life, the reason it was possible for you to be undermined, was that you too were the other reflection in that mirror. And that it was your own lack of self-worth that allowed you to be so malleable, so plastic in his hands. So both of you came together out of fear. And fear of yourself, fear of trusting yourself. His actions were all motivated by security needs, as were your responses. Here there is a need to transcend that fear, to release the bondage, find the path. Yes.
Plautus, was there, during the time of Christ, do you see a connection between, like a teacher-student relationship between the entities James and Flora?
In the time of Jesus?
Mm-hmm.
The image that we are seeing is of a sort of a crypt, a tomb. Not for the dead, a hiding place. We feel that there was a retreat, that there was they were the copying and of forbidden writings, the committing to scrolls of the words of Jesus, in deep secrecy, that the revisionism that set in almost immediately after the passage of Jesus into his wholeness was felt by you politically. In other words, you were not fleeing and hiding only from the Romans or from the Pharisees, but from other Christians, other followers, who were beginning the process of politicization that created the many voices and the confusion and the suppression of the entire female aspect of the Christian movement. Much of what you were, these beings were involved in committing to writing had to do with Jesus' sayings and attitudes regarding his female followers, imbued with the spirit of Mary, and for whom he had a deep love and a deep respect. This material was all suppressed by Paul primarily. That was the nature of the work that was committed, done in secrecy, and then suppressed. Much of what was written, however, survives, entombed, to be discovered.
Thank you.
I have a question. What issues do Carter and I need to work on together? And maybe what past life things have led to it?
Now, Carter is
a boyfriend.
We see a financial involvement here, and we see trickery. This is past life. He was a attorney, a lawyer. And he was entrusted with control over your finances in your extreme youth. You were male. He was male. There was a siphoning off of funds. The failure of trust. And so here, this is the kernel of it, that's the issue, is the question of trust. Your trust was betrayed. He betrayed himself through what was greed, but what he saw as necessity. He lied to himself to protect himself from the results of his actions, spiritual results of his actions. You, at first through your youth, and then because you were in basic submission to this man, did not question these dealings. While you were betrayed willingly. Opportunity came for you to discover the truth, and you resolutely turned away from that, not willing to deal with the ramifications of this betrayal, afraid of the battle, mostly subconscious. You caught a glimpse of what was and turned away from it. Now, this is, he didn't take all of your money, and you lived on reasonably well, but he continued to siphon through over a period of 20 years, taking a good deal from you because of the trust that you reposed in him. But you continued after childhood to repose that trust, because you didn't want the responsibility for yourself, because you were afraid to see what was real and preferred to live in an illusion. Now, through your higher self, you were subconsciously aware that something was wrong, but you hid from it. Here, this issue of trust and betrayal is also a matter of courage and challenge, and that exploring the issues of trust and betrayal with each other will have as the result not only the relationship with each other, but the relationship with self to be healed. So we see in this life, the issues of trust and betrayal, you would say, are in your imagination, that they are illusion, where they arise in the relationship now. But they arise strongly because of the conditioning. Yes?
Plautus, did Jesus mean to leave any of his writings? Wasn't he more, he wanted to show feelings?
Well, he left no writings.
Right.
And of course, the reason beyond the reason that so little of his direct quotations remained is that it was not to be, that it was not the intention at that stage for the words to be revealed in their accuracy, that it was a part of the process for humanity to go through the time, again, of betrayal, acting out the Christ story in the 2,000 years of the life of humanity, acting out the betrayal and the lie and the failure, and finally coming through to the redemption and to the acceptance of grace and to the onset of illumination. Now, as you stand on the threshold of illumination, there comes the concrete evidence of the divinity of Jesus the Christ in a number of ways, as well as more understanding regarding the true nature of his message. Because as the Christ energy prepares to be reintroduced, that is the culmination, the fulfillment of the promise that humans strayed so far from. So in this time you have such evidence as the Shroud of Turin, and as of increasing the Dead Sea Scrolls, and of increasing awareness both through channeling and through hard evidence of the mission and of the transcendence of the more than human quality of that being.
Thank you.
Plautus, you said that there are several levels of awareness and that we are seeing a very limited band of awareness and that our physical life is reflective of this sort of the structure of awareness. There are several phylums. There seems to be a nice order of things, of physical beings, of fish and birds and mammals and whatever. Is that level of or process of evolution continue beyond and higher levels of awareness?
Yes. Yes, evolution is the one constant. We spoke at length about this in the message we gave on evolution, that this is the constant. And on Earth, you will find an analogy for every truth that there is to be learned. Earth itself, the Earth life, is a mystery school. And so you will find in the order of matter on Earth, in the lessons in stone, in the lessons in the earth, in the lessons in the air, you will find the entire story told, and access to wisdom through these analogies and parables.
Just quickly, I'll listen to the evolution tape, but evolution seems to be a concept that is linear and time related. Increased awareness seems to appears
to imply time. Yes, and that is an apparent paradox, because in the limitations of human awareness and of language, it is impossible to reconcile those two aspects. One is that outside of this there is no time, and that the one constant is growth. Mm-hmm. And it is not paradox, but it is, frankly, quite impossible to explain to the three-dimensional mind.
Is it correct to, you also talk in that life is not circular. Is it, in that we're all one, that some of us are coming to a conclusion in this lifetime, so it assumes that even though we're all moving towards God, we're not doing it at the same time or the same rate. Is it correct to to apply the image of a spiral or of a wave of life?
Well, it's not incorrect. Life is a continual existence, is a continual expansion. And the parallel is the exploding universe, the fact that everything is moving to occupy greater space in this dimension. And in the collective realities, that too is the direction, is the expansion. And so, if the analogy is there, it's the Big Bang. It's the flowing outward in all directions.
Thank you.
Plautus, along those same lines, many cultures throughout the ages have used the spiral or double spiral as a very important part of their symbology, and it shows up in almost every culture. And there's no direct consensus on its meaning or value as a symbol between the cultures. Or to me, it has great significance and value, and I don't fully understand it.
Well, the spiral is an appropriate symbol up to a point. Really, the infinity symbol is perhaps more appropriate in that it has no beginning and has no end. While life is not circular, because the circularity implies that one thing leads to another, and then you go back to the beginning, where there is no beginning and there is no ending. The spiral is another signpost of the wider reality, another parallel, another analogy. It's not one that we choose to use much ourselves, because it has a beginning and an end.
I've read that the Earth has been more or less a repository for deep negative energy in the different parts of the physical universe, where it could be tempered and rendered more or less neutral, but that the Earth is growing out of this stage now as it progresses.
Yes, the Earth itself, as in all life forms caught in time, is going through an evolution and a renewal as well as a death. But as the repository of negative energy, well, perhaps so, but no more so than humankind itself. It is a symbiotic relationship. The Earth is your mother, and you are the child of God and of the Spirit, but you are also the child of the Earth. And your mother is infected by your dis-ease. And so in such a sense is there a repository of negativity, but the goal is not a sort of neutrality. The goal is to release the negativity, which is false, and accept the positive energy, which is true. And there is a parallel course going on between Earth and her children in this matter. It is, the Earth is a life form. It is a different kind of life form, but it is intertwined with human life. And it is interactive, and as human life became parasitic with the Earth rather than symbiotic, then we see the increase of negative energy both in Earth and in humankind. And so one will not be healed without the other being healed, because they are inextricably one and the same.
And since the Earth is multidimensional, it'll still be full of all this negativity and the relationship in other dimensions.
Well, yes, but don't be fooled. Just as each of those dimensions may occupy the same space, they are independent. While they are intertwined through the lacework of the continuity of humanity, they are nevertheless also independent. And so the Earth that is in that stage, that version of Earth, yet caught in the negativity, does not infect other aspects of Earth, and except in the same sense as in the multiplicity of lives, where there are reverberations. Nevertheless, there is also independence of growth and integrity of being. And so while here we're in a time where the Earth is in transition and humanity is in transition, in a time of cleansing, and this Earth that you live on will be cleansed. The fact that other realities exist, other points of history caught in time exist, in which the Earth is not yet in that form, in which you are not yet in that form, it doesn't matter. All ultimately reach the same point.
Okay, thank you.
Plautus, is the Earth going to align with the center of the galaxy around the year 2000? Or is it just Pluto? Or is the whole solar system going to align with the center of the galaxy?
We don't receive confirmation on that. The realignment of energies in the Earth is, of course, related to all other bodies in the system, but it is we do not see a connection with the center of this galaxy.
Plautus, when I've been asleep, so to speak, and awakened, more and more, I find myself in conversations, or I'm in a different reality. And I'd like a clue on how to stay there. Like the other day I woke up and I heard someone saying, "Oh, I can't call her now because she's in meditation." And as soon as my eyes are open, then I can't get back to that place. And I'd really like to stay there a little longer.
Well, you can, with practice, extend those times of connection where there is a window between the universes. And those moments of illumination and those confirmations of the connection are intermittent, but they can be extended over a period of time. But I think you need to understand that, for better or for worse, you are a part of this time and this place. And while your awareness and understanding and your faith is bolstered by such evidence of connection with the wider reality, that is not going to be the norm, that is not going to be the state, that you are here to deal with this life and this place and this time, and content yourself with the delight and the joy of those flashes of communication.
Well, it almost seems, this seems unreal, and that seems more real.
Well, it is, in a sense, more real because it's more complete, and you are sensing that in that world your consciousness is less curtailed than it is in this world, so the perception is sharper and broader. But nonetheless, this is for this time.
Thank you.
We're going to draw this reading to a close now, and we thank you all for your attention, and we bid you Godspeed as these journeys continue.
Thank you, Plautus.
Thank you.